Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to review Churchill, the 2017 biopic movie that stars Brian Cox as Winston Churchill and Miranda Richardson as his good wife in the movie. Now, if you're feeling a bit of deja vu here, so am I. After watching The Darkest Hour the other day with Gary Oldman, a film that blew me away, especially his performance, I absolutely felt compelled to go and watch the other movie that was released last year in 2017 that told the story of Winston Churchill that starred Brian Cox. A movie that I knew existed, I knew it was out there, but I never really felt compelled to watch it last year, and it never really broke through into the mainstream, so it kind of got forgotten, I think, by a lot of people. But I think it's getting a bit more attention now, mainly due to the Darkest Hour movie. And whereas the Darkest Hour focused on the first month of his political power as Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, this film is actually quite a good piece to watch along with that movie, because this actually tells his time in office leading right up to the end of the war. So the Darkest Hour is at the beginning and this is at the end, so they actually work hand in hand really quite well. And this film focuses on specifically the D-Day landings. Now, as we all know, the D-Day landings was absolutely crucial and paramount to victory in the Second World War. But at the time, as this movie portrays, when the D-Day landings were presented, the plans for the landings were presented by Eisenhower from America and other British generals, etc., the military minds, Winston Churchill was absolutely dead against it. He was concerned that it was going to be a slaughter of men, and he had a lot of inner demons because he fought in the First World War, and many men died at by his orders and all this kind of stuff. So he was really desperate for these D-Day landings not to take place, and he tried every trick that he could really to stop the D-Day landings. And this movie tells that tale of the plans that were put in place and Churchill's inner fight to try and stop the D-Day landings and ultimately try and come to terms with the D-Day landings and how is he going to live with himself, etc., etc. Also deals a little bit more in depth his relationship at home with his wife, which the Darkest Hour just portrayed it essentially as pure love, and it was all sweet and lovely. Well, it's a little bit of a different shade in this movie. In fact, the whole movie is a little bit of a different shade. Brian Cox's performance as Churchill is, in its own way, just as impressive as Gary Oldman's. I don't think he embodies the spirit of Churchill as much as Gary Oldman. And Brian Cox portrays him a little bit more like a grumpy old man in this movie. He doesn't tap into the real Winston, like the mischievous side and the sense of humour and his energy and that kind of stuff, which I think Gary Oldman focused a little bit more on. But that's not to say it's any worse, really. It is just as impressive in its own way. It's just a different shade of the character. And Miranda Richardson does a very, very good job playing his wife as well. And they actually had, according to this movie, a much more complex relationship than I imagined, as he probably wasn't easy to live with. So, yeah, I have to say this was a really, really good movie. I enjoyed it. Again, it taught me things I didn't really know. I thought the acting and the production throughout was exceptional. I just think it was probably, for me, not just as good as Darkest Hour. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on why, but I don't think it was just as impressive as Darkest Hour. But that's not to say I didn't enjoy this movie, because I really, really did. Top class performances by everybody. Again, I'm presuming it's historically accurate. It felt historically accurate, and it was really, really interesting, and I felt like I learned a lot when I watched the movie. And it is great to see true talent performing in movies like this, and Brian Cox is one of those actors that is revered. Really, he's a really fantastic actor, and he really gives it his all in this role. And I have to say, if you are a fan of Darkest Hour and you didn't know this movie exists, or you didn't, or you did know it existed but you've just given it a miss like me, it's definitely worth watching if you've seen Darkest Hour, this, because they do complement each other in their own ways. And even though I think Darkest Hour is slightly better, I think this is a very, very good movie, and it tells a different side of Churchill, so it's certainly worth a watch.